What if I told you that spirituality isn't just a matter of faith, but it's something we can actually study with science? Today, we're going to dive into a topic that, let's be honest, a lot of us have kind of set aside, but we're going to look at it through a totally different lens, a lens of hard data and some pretty surprising research.
For a lot of people today, being indifferent or apathetic about religion feels like the default setting, right? It just seems like a neutral, harmless position to take. But what if that common assumption means we're actually overlooking something really important for our own well-being?
And this is where it gets really interesting. We are not here to debate beliefs or theology. Nope. Instead, we're just going to follow the science. And there's this growing mountain of evidence from medical journals, psychology studies, and sociology that all points to some very real, very measurable benefits of spiritual practice.
So here's the fundamental clash we're looking at today. On one side, you've got this common idea that not caring about religion is, just a neutral stance. It doesn't help, it doesn't hurt. But then on the other side, you've got this scientific evidence that says, hey, wait a minute, that apathy might mean you're missing out on some well-documented, tangible benefits for your life. So let's dig in and see what that evidence actually says.
All right, first up, let's talk about the mind. And again, this isn't about what people believe specifically. It's about how these patterns of thought and, importantly, community engagement actually seem to affect our mental health.
What's pretty amazing here is just how consistent the findings are. I mean, you look across study after study, including some really big ones in places like JAMA Psychiatry, and you see the same pattern emerge again and again. People who are religiously engaged consistently report lower rates of depression and anxiety. And as you can see, it's not a small difference. It's pretty significant.
So the big question is, why? What's going on here? Well, the research points to a few key things. First, the structures of faith give people these ready-made coping tools, and maybe most importantly, a ton of social support. Second, they tend to foster hope and optimism, which act like this incredible buffer against life's stress. And third, they give people a framework, a way to make sense of the tough stuff, the suffering and adversity we all face.
And that really gets to the heart of that third point on resilience. Think about it. When things go sideways in life, having a way to understand it, a way to frame that suffering, is an incredibly powerful psychological tool. It can offer a sense of meaning and purpose right when things feel the most meaningless.
Okay, so we've seen the mental benefits, and they're pretty clear, but the connection goes even deeper, and this is where things get really wild. It actually impacts our physical health in ways you might not expect. It's not just in our heads, it's in our bodies too.
Just look at this number for a second. 7 years. Yeah, you heard that right. According to some major epidemiological studies, simply attending religious services regularly is linked to a significantly longer life. We're not talking about a small correlation here. That's almost an extra decade of life. It's an incredible statistic.
So how on earth does that work? Well, it seems to follow this kind of three-step pathway. It starts with the community providing really strong social support, which we know is a powerful weapon against the negative health effects of loneliness. That support, plus the better coping skills we talked about, leads to less stress and often encourages healthier choices. And here's the bottom line. Lower long-term stress leads directly to things like better heart health and, you guessed it, a longer life.
And that idea of social support brings us perfectly into our next section, the incredible and maybe underrated power of community that is so central to all of these findings.
The key idea here is something sociologists call social capital. The easiest way to think about it is like this. It's the value that's baked into your social networks. It's the trust, the support, the cooperation you get from being connected to other people. And what the research shows is that religious institutions are often these massive, ready-made hubs for creating exactly that. And the payoffs are huge. You get these really robust social networks that can provide everything from emotional support when you're down to practical help when you need it. These communities also tend to encourage things like volunteering and charitable giving, which is good for everyone. And maybe the biggest one of all in our modern world, it acts as a powerful shield against the epidemic of loneliness and isolation.
This idea of contributing to something bigger than yourself, that leads us to the final and maybe most profound piece of this puzzle, how spirituality speaks to that fundamental human need for meaning, the big why.
Life can feel pretty chaotic and random sometimes. And psychology tells us over and over that having a sense of meaning is absolutely vital for our well-being. At their core, that's what spiritual and religious traditions do. They offer a framework for tackling life's biggest questions. Why are we here? How do we deal with suffering? What's our place in the universe? They provide a why.
So let's just pull this all together for a second. What we're really looking at here is a powerful blueprint for well-being. For our mental health, we see more resilience, and that's driven by coping skills and hope. For our physical health, we see longer lives, driven by social support and less stress. For our social lives, we see stronger communities built on these shared networks. And finally, a sense of purpose gives us existential clarity. You see how it's all connected? It's a whole system.
Okay, so the big takeaway here, and this is really important, isn't about any one specific belief. It's about recognizing a powerful pattern. The data consistently shows that the practices that are embedded in these traditions, things like building community, finding purpose, serving others, have real, measurable, positive impacts on our health and our happiness.
So we'll just leave you with this one final thought to chew on. Regardless of what you personally believe, if this is a proven blueprint for a healthier, happier life, what can we all learn from it? It's a powerful question to think about.